is the best month to paint your trees white. Whitening trees with lime is an old school of horticulture that says to perform this treatment, which will prevent frost damage to the bark and delay the vegetation of plants in early spring. This is to protect the trees from excessive heating by sunlight in winter and early spring. It involves covering trunks and thicker branches with lime paint. However, few of you certainly knew that such white trees are invisible to pests that attack them during the period when they are multiplying. The white color will also make insects more visible to animals that hunt them. It is also worth mentioning that the white color attracts ladybugs to the garden. Although information on this subject is contradictory, it is worth taking into account the nature of lime. The composition of the ready-made liming agent is usually calcium hydroxide CaOH2, wherein the chemical composition is 90% calcium oxide, 2% magnesium oxide, 4% carbon dioxide, 0.2% sulfur oxide, while 2% is free water content. The term slaked lime stands for calcium hydroxide CaOH2. Like other compounds from the hydroxide group, it contains metal cations and hydroxide anions. Even though the producers write that it is a natural product, safe for plants, you should be careful. In fact, calcium hydroxide is a corrosive, non-flammable, white powder with a crystalline structure. It dissolves poorly in water, but at the same time it is hygroscopic, it absorbs water from the surroundings. Slaked lime as a hydroxide undergoes ionic dissociation, reacts with acids and causes corrosion of metals. Like any strong alkali, lime has an irritating effect on the human body. Inhalation of vapors of this compound causes breathing difficulties. CaOH2 destroys the skin and the organ of vision. Slaked lime also has an irritating effect. When using calcium hydroxide, you should minimize the risk of direct contact of the product with the skin or eyes. Inhalation of calcium hydroxide dust may cause severe irritation of the respiratory tract, resulting in coughing and difficulty breathing. So this is how slaked lime also affects pests. Calcium hydroxide has disinfecting properties. The antibacterial, disinfecting and deacidifying properties of slaked and quicklime are also used in sewage treatment plants and water treatment plants. Calcium hydroxide perfectly neutralizes chemical and biological deposits from sewage. Slaked lime in the form of lime milk is also useful in the sugar industry. Industrialists add calcium hydroxide to beetroot juice to get rid of impurities and bacteria. Slaked lime has been used in various households for hundreds of years. In the past, this raw material was mainly used for whitewashing ceilings and walls in houses, dugouts, basements, and farm buildings. Lime made wooden structural elements more resistant to insects and mold. The light lime color also illuminated the interiors and made them look neat. It is used in agriculture not only as a protective preparation protecting fruit trees against pest attacks, but also as a soil deacidifier and fertilizer additive. Of course, everything depends on the correct degree of dilution and dosage. In the case of leaf pests such as aphids and spider mites, lime is not a very effective control measure. These pests are not sensitive to pH changes and are not directly exposed to lime. Lime may have some deterrent effect, but this is not enough to effectively control leaf pests. An interesting fact is that Canadian producers of greenhouse cucumbers, who grow them in almost consecutive plantings, practice quite a radical method of preventing pests before laying foil or agritextile used for mulching the soil. They spread a relatively thick layer of agricultural lime without mixing it with the soil. Currently, with no registered soil disinfectant available to the average gardener, nitrogen lime is the only partial substitute on the market. Nitrogen lime is intended for basic fertilization before sowing or planting, and due to toxic intermediates during decomposition, it must be introduced into the soil at least 14 days in advance. Its transformation in the soil releases active lime in addition to ammonium nitrogen, which is immediately taken up by plants. Nitrogen lime significantly reduces the attack of plants by the spores of pathogenic fungi found in the soil. High-performance nitrogenous lime kills eggs and young snails regardless of temperature and humidity. The occurrence of wyeworms is also significantly limited. During a sunny winter day, January-February, the bark of trees heats up significantly, while at night the temperature drops. Sudden changes in temperature may result in cracking of the bark and the formation of gangrenous wounds, vertical cracks on the trunk. The latter usually form after periods of sudden warming, when the outer layers of bark would become more flexible and then freeze. Damage to internal tissues is manifested by browning of cells, and is particularly visible in the cross-section of young, one-year-old growths that finished their growth late. Warming during the day and frost during the night can lead to frost damage. In spring, until May, whitened trunks warm up slower, which delays vegetation and protects plants against frost. Spring frosts can damage flowers and fruit buds, and whitened trees start growing later. Since winters are getting milder every year, which causes trees to start growing too quickly, which may then result in frost and damage the buds, this procedure may be quite important. Why is color white so often used in gardening? Check out this simple test of how different colors absorb sunlight. Whitewashing of trees is carried out when the days become longer and sunnier, and the sun begins to shine more strongly and may excessively heat the bark. This time is from mid-December to the end of January. Whitewashing of trees should be done on a rainless, cloudy day when the air temperature is above 5 degrees. Only under such conditions will bleaching fulfill its function. The treatment must be repeated until March if rain washes the paint off the trees. Trees heat up the most from the south and southwest. White paint should be applied primarily to the bases of the trunks, which are located at the lowest point and where vegetation processes start the fastest. However, it is best to whiten entire trunks and the bases of branches, as well as entire branches if the tree forks from the bottom. Fruit trees are whitewashed, the so-called milk of lime. This name comes from the resulting milk-like consistency. It is a solution of water and lime. Quicklime is the best. It can also be slaked, which is mixed in a 5:1 ratio. So we can prepare the lime whitening mixture ourselves. We dissolve them in water, e.g. at the rate of 2 kilograms per 10 liters of water. If we plan to paint trees with a brush, the mixture should be slightly thicker, and if we want to spray, the milk of lime must be more liquid. It is worth enriching the suspension with an adhesion-improving ingredient to slow down the washing away of lime by rain. For this purpose, 10% of emulsion paint is added to the milk of lime. Potato flour will also work, but ready-made lime for whitewashing trees often contains adhesion-enhancing agents. You can also whiten fruit bushes such as gooseberries or currants. And remember to use protective clothing. If you found this video useful, subscribe to my channel.